When I swore to my boy that I was done with crime, I meant it. My hands had spilled enough blood, lifted enough wallets, cracked enough safes. I told him the life was over, that I'd hang up the mask, trade the pistol for peace. And for a while, I believed myself. But then he came to me one night, eyes wide, voice low, and asked for money. Not pocket change. Not lunch money. Real money. The kind only a man like me could get. And in that moment, I felt the old shadows pulling me back in. Let me tell you how it started. We were sitting in my kitchen, just me and him. The house smelled like burnt coffee. I'd left the pot on too long, trying to stay awake through another restless night. My son, Danny, tapped his fingers on the chipped table, that nervous rhythm he picked up from me. He was 16, but his eyes had the weight of someone who'd already seen too much. "Dad," he said, not looking at me, "I need a favor." I should have known right then it wasn't going to be simple. Danny wasn't the kind of kid to ask for help with homework or rides to parties. No, his requests always carried the kind of gravity that made my chest tighten. "What kind of favor?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. The old gangster in me never liked to show nerves, not even to my own flesh and blood. He hesitated. Then he said the words that clawed at me, "I need money." My heart kicked like a loaded gun. I leaned back in my chair, studying him. He looked smaller in that moment, like a boy again, not the young man trying to act tough. "How much are we talking?" He swallowed, his throat working like he'd just swallowed a stone. $5,000. The air went still. No sound but the hum of the broken fridge. 5,000. That wasn't a kid's mistake. That was a debt. A problem. A danger. I felt the anger rise first. Not at him. At the world. At the streets that had whispered to him like they once whispered to me. I'd promised him I'd keep him away from this life, but here he was, dragging me back into it with one desperate plea. "Danny," I said slowly, "what the hell do you need $5,000 for?" He looked at me then, really looked, his eyes wet but burning with shame. "I screwed up, Dad. I borrowed from the wrong people. They said if I don't pay back by Friday," his voice cracked, "they'll come after me. After us." I closed my eyes. The words cut deeper than any knife. I'd spent years trying to shield him from the kind of men who make those threats. The kind who don't bluff. And now my own son had walked straight into their jaws. I should have yelled. I should have told him he'd ruined everything. But instead, I felt a dark calm settle over me, the kind I hadn't felt since my old crew days. It was like slipping on a familiar coat, one that smelled of smoke, sweat, and blood. "Who?" I asked. My voice was colder now, sharper. He hesitated, then whispered, "Vinnie Caruso." The name dropped like a hammer. Vinnie. A shark in the underworld ocean, one I'd crossed paths with before. We weren't friends. We weren't enemies. We were something worse, two predators circling the same waters, waiting for the other to bleed. I stared at my son, at his trembling hands. He didn't know what he'd done. He didn't know that asking me to fix this meant unlocking a cage I'd welded shut years ago. "Go to bed," I told him finally. My voice was steady, but inside, I was breaking. "I'll take care of it." He opened his mouth to argue, but I raised a hand. The old authority in my tone stopped him. He nodded, got up slow, and disappeared down the hall. His bedroom door clicked shut like the slamming of a cell. And me. I just sat there, staring at the cracks in the table, staring at the ghosts crawling out of the past. I'd promised him I was done. I'd promised myself I'd never go back. But promises don't pay debts. Promises don't stop men like Vinnie. The night stretched long. The city outside whispered with sirens and distant shouts. And in that darkness, I knew what I had to do. One last job. For him. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't know, was that this job would tear open every secret I'd buried, every sin I thought I'd left behind. And it all started with my son asking for money. I didn't sleep. I watched the kitchen light buzz and flicker while the city exhaled beyond the window, sirens for a lullaby, tires whispering on wet asphalt. My boy's breath drifted down the hallway in soft waves, and every rise and fall felt like a countdown. Friday. $5,000. Vinnie Caruso. 3 bullets in a sentence. People think the hardest part is the stealing. It isn't. It's the deciding. The second you choose, the universe rearranges itself. The doors you hoped would stay locked swing open. The faces you promised to forget start remembering you. At 2:11 a.m., I pulled the shoebox from the top shelf in the pantry. Not the cash shoe, those days were gone, but the other one, heavier. Old life, preserved in newspaper. I unwrapped the pieces like relics, a slim crowbar, black tape, the little flashlight that never died, a folded photograph of 3 men with their arms around each other, grinning like idiots, me, Anton, and Mouse, taken in a bowling alley the week before we hit the 3rd Street Armored Courier. Back when we thought we couldn't miss. Anton. If anyone could help me spin straw into money overnight, it was him. He knew doors. Not just how to open them, but which ones to walk through. Mouse had always known people. Let him stand still long enough in a room and he'd map it. Who owed who was angry, who was hungry. The kind of map you only learn to draw by bleeding for it. I dialed Anton first. 3 rings. Then his voice rolled through, thick, amused, always 2 beats away from a laugh. Tell me this is a prank call, old man. It's me. I know it's you. Who else breathes like a busted radiator? Why are you calling, and why do I suddenly smell trouble? I need a door opened. Silence, just the soft crackle of whatever cheap TV he kept on for company. You promised the boy. I know. You promised yourself. I know. He sighed. How much? 5. Pocket change if the pocket belongs to a dragon, he said. When? 4 days. A low whistle. You don't need a door. You need a miracle. I need both. He didn't say no. Anton never said no first. He liked to take little bites out of a problem like an apple. Mouse still breathing. Somewhere, I said. I'll find him. You do that. And find something soft. You're gonna land on it hard. He rattled off an address. 4 p.m. tomorrow. Bring coffee. The real stuff. I don't do your burnt church offerings. I hung up and stared at the photograph again. 100 choices in a snapshot. If I'd turned left instead of right. If I'd walked away one night earlier. If. Promises marked like chalk lines that rain always erases. I left Danny a note on the fridge. At work. Don't open the door. Don't answer unknown numbers. Love you. I stood there longer than I should have, pen hovering, wanting to write more, everything I'd never said, but I knew the boy. Too many words made him suspicious. He got that from me too. The walk to Mouse's place took me through streets I used to own with my footprints. The corner bodega smelled like fried onions and lotto ink. The pawnshop window still held the trumpet I'd pawned years ago, not mine, but the same make, the same promise. I kept moving. Mouse's building leaned. The doorbell had been stolen years ago, so I kicked the wood twice in a pattern only old ghosts recognized. He opened up in a bathrobe like hotel carpet and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. My mother warned me about you, he said, stepping aside. She said if you ever come back it means winter's coming. It's summer. Exactly. Mouse's place was a museum of bad decisions. Unpaid cable boxes, a stack of mismatched plates, 6 pairs of sneakers still in their boxes. He poured coffee that tasted like it had been filtered through a sock. Talk, he said. Mouse never liked preamble. He'd already read me from the doormat. The tension in my shoulders, the way my eyes kept checking the window, the absence of a ring on my finger I'd stopped wearing but kept touching. He saw the story before I told it. Danny owes 5 to Vinnie. Mouse stopped stirring, spoon midair. Caruso. I said his name. You shouldn't say the names of men who collect them, he muttered, then shook off the chill with a joke. The kid tried gambling. That boy's smarter than us. Borrowed for a bike. Then for the bike's chain. Then for the chain's lock. Then for the lock's friend. It snowballed. Someone spotted him as mine. Rates went from stupid to suicidal. Mouse whistled, a thin ribbon of sound. You go to Vinnie, he doubles it for the insult and asks for interest paid in blood. You don't go, he sends a guy to teach you manners. I need 5 by Friday, I said. Clean enough to spend. Dirty enough to find fast. He kicked his feet up, wincing at something in his knee he'd never admit. Jobs fast enough to feed a deadline are either stupid or simple. Stupid gets you dead. Simple is never simple. There is a thing. Say the thing. He glanced at the window like it might lean in. A stash house. Not heroin, not guns. Cash. Drops from small bookies who don't trust banks. You take the box, you got what you need and change for ice cream. Whose stash? He hesitated. People you don't want to make friends with. I already got friends I don't want. Mouse rubbed his jaw. There's a cop in that mess too. Not straight, not bent, flexible. He's the reason the place stays quiet. You take from there, you're not just jacking a dragon. You're poking a fireman who lights his own fires. I tasted the idea. Bitter. Huh. Familiar. Where? He smiled sadly. You were always going to ask. We spent 2 hours sketching on the back of a delivery menu. Entry, exit, angles, timings. Mouse talked, I poked holes, he patched them with tape and charm. It felt like old times, which is to say, terrible and comforting. He had eyes inside, some hungry kid who'd bragged where he should have prayed. The stash lived behind a false water heater in a garage that belonged to a woman who baked cookies for the neighborhood and asked no questions. Thursday midnight is quietest, Mouse said. They rotate crews like socks, left on the floor. One guy inside, one guy outside. The outside guy vapes more than he watches. Alarm. Motion. Lazy. They trust the badge more than the beep. You bring Anton for the box. I don't touch boxes anymore. Boxes remind me of coffins. You in? He smiled without the teeth. I'm always in. My sins got dry. They need watering. I left with a folded map in my pocket and the prickle between my shoulders that told me fate had noticed me again. On the way home, I bought the good coffee for Anton. I stood in the aisle too long, debating brands like that would change the ending. It never does. Danny was at the table when I got back, the note still magnet to the fridge, his phone face down like a guilty heart. He looked at me like I was 2 men. He wasn't wrong. You went out, he said. I told you I would. He nodded. I'll fix this, Dad. I'll get a job. This isn't a chore you can mow, I said gently. You pay back men like Vinny, they charge you for breathing too loud. You don't pay them, they take your breath to quiet you. Either way they own you unless somebody flips the board. He swallowed hard. Are you flipping it? I lied to him for the first time in months. I'm just talking to people. He stared at my hands. They'd stopped shaking. It scared him more than the shake ever did. That night I sat by the front window and watched the street. The lamp threw a circle onto the sidewalk like a stage. At 9, a white sedan rolled slow. Not the usual slow of someone lost. The slow of someone memorizing. It passed once, twice, then a third time. On the third pass, the passenger looked up at my window and smiled like we shared a joke. He tapped 2 fingers to his head in a little salute. I didn't move. I let him have his show. I let him believe I was cornered by his knowing. At 4 p.m. the next day, I met Anton in a garage that smelled like old oil and rain. He hugged me with one arm and took the coffee with the other. He'd grown a beard to hide the scar on his chin the way men grow silence to hide regrets. We spread Mouse's menu on the hood of a car with no plates. Anton tapped the drawing with a knuckle. This is either cute or suicidal. Why not both? I said. He grinned. You remember how to climb a fence without singing? I remember everything. He looked at me, really looked. No, you remember the muscle. Do you remember the price? I didn't answer. Prices are always due after delivery. We ran the plan until the sun sagged. Entry. Exit. How to talk if we got caught. How to not talk if we got caught worse. When we finally sat, the air between us was heavy with old names we didn't say. He finished his coffee, wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, and said, almost casually, You know the whisper about that stash, right? It isn't just Caruso. What else? Half of that money's a pension that never made it to the officers it belonged to. Skim off the skim. You take it, you're not just robbing a thief. You're robbing a myth. What's a myth going to do? Sue me. He laughed, but his eyes stayed flat. A myth doesn't sue. A myth erases. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost let it die, then answered, because ignoring danger just makes it knock louder. A voice like gravel and honey slid into my ear. You breaking your little promise, friend? Who's this? Someone who remembers you. Someone who remembers that boy of yours looks like you when he's scared. Cute kid. Be a shame if he learned math the hard way. I closed my eyes, saw Danny at the kitchen table again, fingers tapping that rhythm, unaware of all the eyes the world had set on him. Speak your name, I said softly. The voice chuckled. Names cost money. How much? 5 grand by Friday. Or I teach your son to count to 10 with fewer fingers. The line clicked dead. Anton watched me pocket the phone, read the tremor that passed through me like a shadow. We do this Thursday, he said. We do it fast. We do it clean. And if it isn't clean? He smiled in that way that didn't touch his eyes. Then we bleed quietly. That night, when the house was sleeping, I opened the shoebox again. The flashlight. The tape. The gloves that remembered my hands better than I did. I stared too long at the photograph. 3 men in a bowling alley, laughing. One of them already dead, though he didn't know it yet. Another lost. The third pretending to be something he wasn't, retired, redeemed, safe. I slid the picture back under the newspaper. I told myself this was the last time. The last door. The last lie. Then the front porch creaked. Just a little sound, like a step trying to be polite. A shadow crossed the frosted glass. A second shadow joined it. Whoever they were, they didn't knock. They just waited. They waited like polite wolves. No knock. No breath. Just the weight of 2 men on my porch boards, measuring our house in quiet. I kept the lights off and stood to the left of the door, where the frosted oval of glass couldn't silhouette me. Old habits don't die. They nap with one eye open. The first voice was soft, the kind used on skittish dogs. Evening, Mr. Moreno. So they knew my name. The second voice had gravel in it. We ain't here to argue. The deadbolt hummed under my fingertips. I thought about Danny asleep down the hall, his door cracked, the night making a thin gold blade on his carpet. I thought about the shoebox at my feet, the photo face down. I slid the chain lock into place and opened the door 3 inches. Cold air tried to get in, and so did the smell of cigarettes and cologne, pretending to be something classier. 2 men. One tall, black jacket, clean haircut. The other shorter, built like a bad decision, eyes that never stayed still. The tall one smiled without his teeth. Friendly check-in, he said. Deadline's Friday. We worry when people get quiet. Quiet means creativity, and creativity makes our employer nervous. Tell your employer I'm good for it, I said. No one needs to get creative. The short one peered past me like he could see Danny's whole life. That your boy in there? I stepped so my shoulder filled the gap. That's my house in there. The tall one lifted his hands like he was holding air. Relax. We're not storming a castle. We just need a sign of faith. The ocean looks calmer when you throw it a pebble. You want a pebble, I said. Take my word. Word's a kite, the short one said. Pretty in the wind. No wait. He fished in his pocket and brought out a business card that wasn't one. Black paper, a silver number. He slid it through the gap. You send a picture tomorrow. 5. No face, just fingers. Spread M. We like to count. I didn't look at the card. What if I send you a picture of my foot? The tall one's smile finally reached his eyes, but not in a friendly way. Then we'll send you shoes you can't use. The joke was old and ugly. I let it die on the threshold. You got your hello. Good night. They didn't fight the door when I pushed it shut. The short one leaned to the glass and said, almost tender, Don't make us artists, Mr. Moreno. Their feet retreated into the January dark, steps soft, like they'd learned to move quieter than their consciences. I waited at the peephole until they were gone. 5 breaths. 10. I locked everything and stood there with my hand on the door, counting. The counting calmed me. It always had. In the living room, the shoebox waited. I put the card on top of it like a black moth. Then I went to my boy's doorway and watched him sleep the way you watch the tide, knowing it's going to leave you one day no matter how hard you wish the moon would freeze. In the morning, I made pancakes too thick and coffee too strong. Danny poked his fork like he was trying to move the ocean with a toothpick. He didn't ask about the night. I didn't tell him. That's how men in my family showed love, by refusing to give each other new nightmares. I'm staying home today, I said. He didn't look up. Trouble. Company. The kind that doesn't leave a voicemail. He nodded. Should I skip school? You're not skipping your life because mine got loud, I said. Go. Keep your head down. Don't be brave. Brave gets you flowers and a folded flag. He flinched at that and I hated myself for saying it. Sorry, I added, softer. Bad line. He lifted his backpack. When this is done, are you done again? I lied and told the truth. I'm done the second you're safe. He kissed my cheek the way he did when he was 6, then pretended he hadn't. The door closed behind him, and the house felt like a throat after a scream. Raw, empty, waiting to cough. I met Anton at the lockup we used to pretend wasn't ours. He'd already disassembled a rusted keypad on a practice door and laid its guts out like a patient. I didn't ask where he got it. Anton never stole anything. He adopted it until it forgot someone else had loved it first. Your porch poet stopped by, he said. 2. They asked for a picture of 5 fingers tomorrow. Cute, he said, not smiling. They want proof of life. Yours. We ran through the plan until the plan was sick of us. We talked about where to park and when not to be seen, about the weight of a box we hadn't touched, about the timing of men who smoked too much. We didn't talk about run-ins with cops because we didn't have the budget for that. You can plan for bullets or bracelets. Not both. Mouse called while Anton was dismantling a latch that didn't owe him money. I've got good news and a riddle, Mouse said. Spare me the cake, I said. Give me the riddle. Who protects the thieves while stealing from them? He didn't wait. The cop in this picture is not a cop like you think. He's not the flexible one watching the house. He's someone else. He's insurance. For who? For a name we haven't said out loud yet, Mouse said. He dropped his voice even though nobody could hear him. There's a bigger wheel behind Vinny. Always was. We never saw it because we never had to. I stared at the broken keypad. You saying we're robbing a ghost with a badge? I'm saying ghosts don't need warrants. They walk through the door. He gave an address unrelated to the stash, a diner near the river. Meet me at 3. Bring Anton. Bring your patience. The diner used to be a bakery. You could still smell bread if you breathed through memory. Mouse had a booth in the back where the wallpaper peeled in curls. He pushed a napkin across the table. On it, a name, Lucia Rivas. Anton frowned. That's your good news. Mouse's eyes were bright, mean with hope. Lucia's the woman with the cookies. The garage, I said. Yeah, Mouse said. She's not stupid. She's not innocent either. She's a mother who knows her rent gets paid the same day a certain man drops by to carry a bag from her garage to his car. She thought it was tips. She smelled cash once when the wind blew wrong. Why give me her name? Because she's your way in that doesn't get you shot before dessert. She hates the men who use her house like a pocket. She hates herself more for letting them. She'll hate you too. But hate makes good allies. And the cop. Mouse looked at the door the way a cat watches a dark hallway. The cop is her cousin. He's the one who told her to keep her head down. He's the reason the stash never gets hit by the hungry. He's also the reason the bookies pay what they pay. Money's a river. He built the dam. A waitress dropped 3 mugs and called me honey like she meant it. I let the coffee cool while the name on the napkin burned a hole in it. Lucia Rivas. A garage that smelled like sugar and fear. How do we talk to her without teaching her new grief? I asked. Mouse looked at me like I'd made a joke. You tell the truth, he said. You tell her you're a bad man trying to do one good thing before the sky closes. We went that evening before the world changed its mind. No ski masks. No black hoodies. The opposite of a robbery. 2 old sinners and a child of smoke walking up a driveway with hands empty. Lucia opened the door before I could knock. A woman in her 40s with flour on her cheek and a scar at her hairline that a story lived inside. She looked at us 3 like we were a punchline to a joke she never told. I know why you're here, she said without hello. And the answer is no. You don't know the question, I said. You're going to ask me to look the other way while you make trouble that will land on me. I've had enough trouble. I set a table for it and it never left. Mouse put his hands up, palms out. We're not police, he said. That's worse, she said. I could have lied. I could have smiled. Instead, I said, I'm a father. My boy owes money to a man who uses your garage like a bank. If I don't get that money, men will visit my house and count my son's fingers. Her eyes flicked to my hands. She noticed what the porch poets had noticed. She noticed the way I stood, the way I measured the room. She noticed the bruise that never quite left a man's face once life had hit him there too many times. You're not stealing from the box, she said. I'm taking from a thief what doesn't belong to him. Everything in that box doesn't belong to him, she said. And every dollar belongs to a worse man behind him. She breathed out. Shook. You take it, the worse man comes. He doesn't knock. He doesn't bring cards. He brings flowers later. Why do you stay? Anton asked, too blunt. She looked at him like she wanted to throw the door and the house and the street at his head. Then she pointed to a bedroom door down the hall. A small shadow moved behind it. The sound of a child reading to himself, halting, brave. Because when men like that choose your life, you don't get options. You get days. I collect them. We stood there with our hats in our hands and the cold at our backs. She let us feel the shame. Then she opened the door wider. You get 5 minutes, she said. You say what you're going to do. You say it without magic words. If you lie, I'll know. Mothers always know. We talked fast. No details that would teach a clever kid with a Wi-Fi connection how to ruin his life. Just the bones. Thursday, late, quiet. In and out. No fire. No friends. No footprint. If it went wrong, it would go wrong loud and I'd make the noise come toward me, not her. She listened like a jury and a priest, eyes on my mouth, weighing the words with scales I didn't own. When I finished, she nodded once. Do you pray? She asked. Not with words, I said. Do it anyway, she said. It helps the ones who stay after you fail. We left like we entered, heads down, hands empty. At the sidewalk, I turned back and said the thing I shouldn't have. If it spirals, take your boy and go to my house. Ask for Danny. He'll hide you. She looked at me like I was what I was, a man who meant well too late. If it spirals, your house will be the first place they visit. On the bus back, Mouse talked to fill the part of me that had gone hollow. She's good, he said. She'll move him if the wind changes. I watched the city blur to gray. The wind already changed, I said. That night, the white sedan didn't circle. A different car did. Boxy. City issued plates. It parked across the street, 2 spots down from Mrs. Ortega's mailbox. No one got out. Someone lit a cigarette. The ember floated in the dark like a mean star. At midnight, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered because I'm not superstitious. I just believe in patterns. Cute, the voice from before said. Visiting Lucia. You think the world doesn't talk. Let it talk, I said. Maybe the world will tell you not to make orphans. He laughed. You wear the mask again, old man? It never fit you. It just hid the bruise. The line died. The car across the street didn't. It sat like patience. Thursday came like a blade. I held Danny's shoulders at the doorway and lied one more time. Be asleep when I get home, I said. You're coming home. I'm coming home. He nodded like he didn't believe me and loved me anyway. He went to his room and closed the door, and it sounded like a promise breaking. At 11:45, Anton and I were two ghosts moving through a neighborhood that baked cookies and hid monsters. We kept our heads down. We breathed like thieves and fathers. The street was a held breath. A porch light blinked twice and stayed on. Somewhere a dog told a story to nobody. The garage sat with its mouth closed. We went to work without looking like work. No tools you could write down. No steps you could copy. Just hands and timing and the kind of luck men earn by surviving their mistakes. We made the door unhappy but quiet. Inside, the smell hit first, cardboard and metal and a sweetness that wasn't sugar. Money doesn't smell like anything until it's in a room, then it smells like old skin. Anton found the false wall without letting me see how. I watched the windows. I listened for shoes. He grunted once. The box had weight. Good. Bad. Enough to change the night. Outside, tires kissed curb. Not the slow roll of neighbors. The confident stop of someone who believes the script belongs to him. Anton's eyes cut to mine. We didn't speak. We never speak when the script changes. The outside guy wasn't alone. I saw silhouettes move on the garage door like shadows from a different planet. One heavy, one thin. The heavy one tapped the metal twice, a rhythm I knew from another life. The thin one laughed, and the laugh burned a name into my skull. "Dad," he said, from the other side of the door. My son's voice. Trembling, trying to be brave, trying to be me. The box went colder in my hands. The night shrank to the size of a coin. They hadn't followed me. He'd followed me. His voice on the other side of that thin garage door froze my blood harder than any gun ever had. "Dad," Danny said again, softer this time, like he already regretted saying it out loud. Anton's eyes cut to mine, wide, furious. He mouthed one word, "Kid." I pressed my back against the wall, the box heavy in my arms, my chest hollow. I wanted to scream at him to run, to vanish, but any sound from me would tell the shadows outside exactly where we stood. The heavy man's voice followed, low and amused. "See, told you he'd show. Family's a leash, Moreno. You can't cut it without choking." Danny's breath hitched. He was scared, but he hadn't been hurt. Not yet. Anton slid closer, lips brushing my ear. "We're boxed. 2 out there, maybe more. We shoot our way out. Your boy catches the ricochet." "I don't have a gun," I whispered back. "Good," he said. "Because if you did, I'd take it away before you did something stupid." The heavy man tapped again. Metal shivered under his knuckles. "Come on out, old man. We'll talk like friends. Kid's cold out here." Every instinct screamed at me to crash through the door, drag Danny inside, fight tooth and bone. But I'd lived long enough to know instinct is what gets you buried. Instead, I slid the box toward Anton. He frowned but took it, resting its weight against his knee. My voice came out low, calm, the kind of calm that made enemies nervous. "You picked the wrong boy to bait," I called through the metal. Danny's voice wavered. "Dad, I didn't. They followed me from school. Said they'd take me to you. I didn't know." "Quiet, son," I cut him off. "Not another word." My throat ached saying it, but silence was the only shield left. The heavy man chuckled. "Cute. He listens better than you ever did. Let's not waste time. Vinny wants his cut early. You bring the box, we forget the 5. Everybody walks." Anton's jaw tightened. He scribbled something on the dusty floor with his finger. "Stall." I raised my voice. "If Vinny wants it, Vinny comes himself." The laughter turned sharp. "Vinny doesn't come to garages. Vinny sends flowers to graves." Behind me, Anton's hands worked quick, stripping wire from a lamp, rigging it to the box latch. Improvised trap. He didn't need to tell me. We'd pulled stunts like this before. He wanted the box to burn anyone greedy enough to snatch it. I kept talking, kept throwing words like sand. "Vinny forgets who I am. I don't pay debts, I collect them." That struck a nerve. Silence fell heavy. Then a fist slammed the door hard enough to shake dust loose. "Last chance, Moreno." Anton leaned close. We can ghost out the back. Windows rotten. But your boy. I looked at the shape of Danny's shadow, tall but trembling, painted across the door by the street lamp. My decision carved itself in me like stone. You go, I told Anton. Take the box. Make it vanish. I'll get Danny. His eyes went wild. That's suicide. That's fatherhood. He wanted to argue, but the heavy man started counting. Loud, deliberate. 1, 2. I didn't wait for 3. I shoved the garage door up with a scream of rust. Cold night air rushed in. Danny stumbled back, eyes wide, flanked by the 2 men, one built like a bulldozer, the other wiry and grinning. Dad. I didn't let him finish. I lunged, grabbed his collar, yanked him inside. The wiry one reached too slow, and I slammed the door back down between us, locking Danny against my chest. The bulldozer's boot hit the metal like thunder. It buckled but didn't break. Not yet. Danny clutched my arm, shaking. I'm sorry, I thought. No talking, I hissed, dragging him toward the back. No apologies. You breathe and you run. Anton had already shattered the window with his elbow. Glass rained onto dirt. He shoved the box through, then climbed like a man 20 years younger. Move, move. I boosted Danny first. He scrambled, cutting his palms, but he got out. Anton pulled him the rest of the way. Then Anton reached back for me. The door behind us shrieked, metal giving. Voices cursed, footsteps hammering. I didn't climb. Not yet. I turned, grabbed a rusted wrench off a shelf, and jammed it through the latch inside the door. It wouldn't stop them long, but maybe long enough. Then I hauled myself up, glass biting my jacket, ribs scraping wood. Anton yanked me free just as the garage door exploded open behind us. Shadows poured in, furious, loud. We hit the ground running. Through alleys, over fences, into streets where no one looked twice at 3 figures sprinting with panic in their throats. Anton led, box in hand. I shoved Danny ahead of me, ignoring the fire in my lungs. Only when we'd collapsed behind an abandoned laundromat 3 blocks away did we stop. My boy was gasping, blood on his hands from the glass. I pulled him close, pressing his head to my chest. My heart still hammered like a drumline, but I whispered steady into his hair. You're alive. That's all that matters. Anton leaned against the wall, sweat streaking his face. You just bought us a war, he panted. I was already in one, I said. Danny looked up at me, tears cutting through dirt on his cheeks. Dad, they knew my name. I kissed his forehead, something I hadn't done since he was little. They only know what I let them. You're safe now. I wanted to believe it. I needed to believe it. But even as I held him, I saw headlights sweep past the alley. Slow. Searching. And I knew safety was gone. The box had weight. My son had weight. And both were pulling me back into the abyss I'd promised I'd left. Anton's voice cut through the night, grim. We can't run forever. You want to keep him alive. We hit them first. Danny shivered in my arms. Hit who? I met Anton's eyes. Vinnie Caruso. The name hung like a death sentence. And I realized this wasn't about $5,000 anymore. This was about survival. Friday was no longer the deadline. Friday was the day I turned back into everything I'd promised my son I wasn't. And God help me, I didn't know if I'd come back out. Anton said the name like it was a nail in a coffin. Vinnie Caruso. The alley stank of mildew and rust, but my son's trembling in my arms drowned out everything else. He was still a kid, still thought fights were fists and debts were paid in cash. He didn't understand what that name meant. Vinnie wasn't a man. He was gravity. You didn't beat gravity, you learned to fall softer. But I couldn't tell Danny that. He already blamed himself. His eyes, my eyes, younger, unbroken, looked at me like I had the answers. So I lied. We'll handle it. Anton barked a laugh without humor. Handle? You don't handle Vinnie. You survive him. Then we survive, I said. We hid the box in an old storm drain Anton had used back when we were young enough to believe hiding was victory. He covered it with rotted planks and grease-soaked rags, muttering about rats having a better pension plan than us. Danny kept asking questions I wouldn't answer. Why me, Dad? Why'd they come to me? Because they couldn't get to me, I said. You were the next door on the street. He looked away, jaw set. He hated feeling like leverage. I hated knowing he was right. Mouse met us the next afternoon in his apartment, the blinds drawn, the air stale with burnt toast. He poured us whiskey into cracked mugs like we were still celebrating scores instead of circling a grave. Word is, Vinny's moving heavy on Friday, Mouse said. Bigger than usual. Something about a transfer. No one knows if it's money or guns or people, but he's pulling muscle from every corner. Even cops are twitching. Anton grunted. Perfect time to poke him. Mouse raised an eyebrow. Perfect time to get buried under everyone he owns. Danny sat on the couch, silent, watching us like a kid listens to monsters arguing about who gets to eat him. I leaned forward, voice low. If we wait, he comes to us. He already knows my address. He already knows Danny's school. We strike first. Cut off his arm before he reaches. Mouse tilted his head, studying me. You really want to drag your boy into this storm? I wanted to scream no. I wanted to say I'd ship Danny to another state, hide him with cousins he'd never met. But we all knew the truth. Once Vinny marks you, geography doesn't save you. He's already in it, I said. Danny's hands balled into fists. Then teach me. The room went silent. Even Anton stopped fiddling with his lighter. Teach you what? I asked. How to fight. How to not be scared. His voice cracked, but his stare didn't. If they come again, I don't want to just hide behind you. It gutted me. My promise to him, that I'd keep him clean, keep him safe, keep him away from the dirt I dragged behind me, was ashes now. Anton finally broke the silence. Kid's not wrong. Fear gets you killed faster than a bullet. But you don't need lessons in crime. You need lessons in survival. Mouse nodded. Basics. Eyes open, ears sharper. How to move without tripping over your shadow. Danny leaned forward, desperate. Then show me. I wanted to forbid it. I wanted to scream that he was 16, not a soldier. But forbidding made no sense anymore. He'd already been used as bait. He needed teeth, even small ones. Fine, I said. But you learn on my terms. You follow my word like gospel. You slip once, you're out. Danny nodded, eager. Too eager. He didn't know that learning to be me meant never being free of me. The days before Friday blurred into drills. Anton showed him how to break a grip with leverage, not strength. Mouse taught him how to read a room without staring, how to notice exits and mirrors and faces that watched too long. I taught him silence, the kind that keeps you alive when speaking means giving your location away. Danny picked it up frighteningly fast. His body was awkward, sure, but his mind was sharp. He wanted to prove himself. Wanted to stop being the weight around my neck. One night, while he slept on Mouse's couch, Anton pulled me aside. You see it, right? He said. See what? The fire. He's got it. The same one you had when we were stupid enough to think the world owed us. I shook my head. I don't want him to have it. Doesn't matter what you want, Anton said. He's already lit. Friday came heavy. The city felt tense, like the whole grid was holding its breath. Rumors about Vinny's transfer ran wild. Some said it was cash skimmed off union jobs. Some said it was a politician's dirty donation. Some said it was worse. All I knew was, Vinny would be surrounded, distracted, and angry. A perfect storm, if storms could ever be perfect. Mouse laid out the plan on a map torn from a phone book. Convoy leaves the dock at 9 sharp. 3 SUVs, tinted. Vinny rides middle. Front car's muscle, back car's tail. If we're smart, we don't touch the convoy. We touch the pocket that feeds it. Anton frowned. Meaning Vinny doesn't carry everything himself. He trusts a safe house. Tonight, that safe house empties into those cars. We hit the house before the convoy rolls. I studied the map. The house was on Canary Street, old brick with bars on the windows. Too quiet, too normal. Danny leaned over my shoulder. What if we just warn the cops? Mouse laughed, bitter. Cops already warned. They just get paid to ignore. Danny flushed, embarrassed, but I put a hand on his shoulder. Sometimes truth's uglier than lies. Anton stabbed the map with his knife. We go in, get what we can, burn what we can't. Vinny loses face, maybe loses his transfer. He won't forgive, but he'll bleed. And then? Danny asked. And then, I said, we run like hell. We cased the house from a rooftop across the street. One guard smoked by the door, another circled lazy with a bat. Inside, shadows moved. Nothing Vinny would call heavy security. He thought fear itself was the lock. Anton smirked. He's cocky. That's our invitation. We moved in silence, shadows slipping between shadows. Danny stayed glued to me, eyes wide, steps careful. He was shaking, but he didn't break. The first guard never saw Anton's elbow. Dropped like laundry. Mouse tripped the circling one, stuffed a rag in his mouth before sound could leak. We slipped inside. The smell of money hit me first. Bundles stacked like bricks, green walls taller than me. Guns lined a table, crates half open. And in the corner, a safe that hummed with secrets. Anton whistled under his breath. Enough here to buy a senator or bury one. Danny's eyes darted everywhere. We can't take it all. We don't need it all, I said. We just need enough to pay debts and burn the rest. But before we could move, the floor above us groaned. Heavy boots. Voices. More than 2, less than 10. Mouse's face went pale. Not supposed to be occupied. Danny whispered, What do we do? I looked at the stacks, at my son, at the shadows of men above ready to come down. And I knew there was no clean way out anymore. Get ready, I said. It's about to get loud. The boots upstairs moved like a decision. Heavy. Coming our way. Anton's eyes flicked to mine. Mouse already had his hand inside his jacket, not for a gun. He'd promised himself off triggers years ago, but for the little canister he carried for breaking conversations. Smoke. Plan B, I whispered. We're on Plan D, Mouse muttered, and pulled the pin. The can hissed like a snake. Gray rolled up the stairwell, then down again, filling the room with a bitter cotton. Money stacks turned into foggy towers. The floorboards above hesitated. Move, I said. Anton slipped to the safe, fingers reading the dial like Braille. He never asked for permission. He asked metal for cooperation. Danny hovered at my elbow, breathing too fast. I put his hand flat on my chest. In, I said. Count with me. He matched my breath. In. Oh. The first lesson that matters. The door at the top of the stairs banged open. A voice coughed a laugh. Smoke. Cute. Silhouettes appeared. 2, 3, 4. Muzzles poked through the fog like blind animals. Mouse slid behind a crate, yanked Danny with him. I stayed in the open long enough to make a bad target and a good decoy, then flattened as the first burst went wild. Splinters leapt from the table. A bundle tore open. Bills fluttered, snowing green. Anton didn't stop spinning the dial. He hummed that stupid song he always hummed when math did surgery on metal. 3 clicks. A pause. A fourth. His shoulders loosened. Hello, sweetheart, he whispered, and the safe sighed. I went loud before they did. Tipped the table. It crashed, a barricade of wood and cash. I didn't have a gun, but I had weight and speed and the kind of rage that bell curves a room. I grabbed the closest crate, ammo, not apples, and slid it across the floor into the stairwell like I was bowling. It clipped shins. A man shouted a word his mother wouldn't like. Mouse popped up enough to toss a second smoke. The room became an eclipse. Back exit, he hissed. Not yet, Anton snapped. 2 more turns. 2 more turns gets us dead, Mouse said. 2 more turns pays for a new life, Anton said back, and that was the greedy truth singing in all of us. The upstairs men regrouped. One took charge. You can hear command in the way footsteps stop being individuals. They spread. Slow. Careful. I crawled to the safe. Inside, bricks wrapped tight, bands stamped with numbers that made my tongue dry. Not just cash. Ledgers. A black phone. A metal tin with a badge inside. My fingers hit it and recoiled. Mouse saw it too. "Don't," he snapped. "Too late," I said. I knew that shield. Department issue. Lucia's cousin's house of cards just showed me the foundation. Gunfire shredded the table above us. Danny yelped. I covered him with my body and felt splinters bite skin I'd long ago donated to other mistakes. "Dad," he whispered, apology and terror in one breath. "You're fine," I lied. Anton shoved 3 bricks into the bag he'd brought like a magician pulling out doves. He grabbed the phone and the ledger too. He looked at me. We both knew the rules. Records are worth more than money if you live long enough to read them. "Now," Mouse barked. We went now. Through the kitchen. Through a door that stuck. Danny shouldered it like a linebacker, and we were out into a narrow corridor with a light buzzing like a fly. A back exit sat 20 feet away, padlocked with cynicism. Anton had the bolt cutters. One crunch. Through. The chain coughed itself apart. Behind us, a man came through the smoke, mask on, eyes wet and mean. He didn't shout. He raised his gun. He would have been a good soldier if he'd chosen different wars. I stepped into a shot because that's what fathers do, ruin aim with their bodies. The round slapped the wall somewhere it shouldn't. Mouse stepped from the side and hit the man's wrist with something short and heavy. The gun clattered. The man folded, not unconscious, just rethinking his resume. We crashed into the alley, night air like cold water. Sirens somewhere else, not for us, not yet. Tires. Voices. A dog, uninterested. "Split," Mouse said. 2 and 2. "No," I said. "We stay eyes on." "Eyes on gets you seen," Anton shot back. "Eyes off gets me without my son," I said, and that would be a deadlier thing. We chose together without voting. Down to the river, where noise hides noise. Our shoes slapped puddles. The city's spine hummed underfoot. Anton didn't run like an old man. He ran like death. Halfway to the next block, a car glided into the mouth of the alley. Boxy. City-issued plates. Familiar like a bruise. The driver got out and flashed something that caught the streetlight. Not a weapon. A badge. The same shape as the one in my bag. He smiled like a piano teacher. "Evening, gentlemen," he said. "Kid." Mouse stopped dead. "Officer Rivas," he said, and the name made my stomach turn over. Lucia's cousin. The dam builder. "I'm not here for your money," Rivas said, as if that was generosity. "I'm here for my ledger." It wandered. The badge in the tin was heavy in my head. Money is leverage. Ledgers are leverage with handwriting. "We don't have your book," I said. "You always were a poor liar," Rivas said. He stepped closer, hands empty. "Here's the offer. You give me the ledger, and you go home. Keep the cash. Keep your heart rate. Vinny never needs to know you touched his pantry. I fix this. I make problems small." Anton laughed once, loud and wrong. "You make problems smaller by making bodies." Rivas shrugged. "Some problems refuse to be taught." The ledger, Mr. Moreno. Danny moved behind me. I could feel his breath on my neck. Mouse edged left, seeing angles, mapping exits. Anton's hand tightened on the bag. "What happens if we don't?" I asked. Rivas's smile didn't move. His eyes did. "Then I learn your son's schedule and discover he loves chocolate milk on Tuesdays. And then a van learns that too. Don't make me teach you like that. I should have given it. I should have cut a deal with the devil in a better suit. But giving him proof of his own crimes would only make him more permanent. Permanent men are the worst kind of gravity." "I don't have it," I said again, and picked a fight with physics. He sighed, disappointed like a teacher whose favorite student chose the wrong answer. His hand ticked. 2 figures slid from the other side of the car. Plain clothes. Plain faces. Plain gun hands. I pushed Danny behind a dumpster. "Down," I said. "Breathe." Then the world tipped. A new car screamed into the alley from the riverside, fishtailed, braked crooked. Door flew open. Lucia Rivas climbed out with a kitchen apron on and hell in her posture. She didn't have a gun. She had a phone, held high, recording. "Smile for the internet, cousin," she said. "Say hi to your pension." Rivas's jaw clenched. "Lucia, your little bank burned my kitchen," she said. "I lost a month's rent because you stash nightmares where my kid sleeps. No more." Her voice shook. "No more." The plainclothes froze, undecided. Cameras make wolves into rabbits. Rivas took 2 slow steps, smile back in place. "Put the phone down." "Come take it," she said. He moved fast. Faster than his age should allow. He slapped at her wrist. The phone skittered. He went to stomp it. Anton didn't let him. He swung the bag. It connected with Rivas's shoulder with the wet thud of cash and ledger and stubbornness. Rivas stumbled back, surprised, pride dented. He drew. Mouse screamed, "Down!" Time narrowed. I grabbed the bag from Anton and threw it into the back seat of Lucia's car because sometimes the only safe is movement. Rivas fired once, low. The round took Anton in the leg. He dropped, cursing the floor. Danny moved without thinking. He launched at Rivas's gun arm. Not to be a hero. Just to be a son. He'd learned leverage this week and used it like a prayer. Rivas's shot went into the sky. The echo made the alley wince. I was already there, my forearm crushing Rivas's wrist against the hood. The pistol screamed and fell. He elbowed me in the cheekbone hard enough to flash stars on my retinas. I hit him back with 20 years of apologies. We went ugly, both of us. No rules. No honor. Just elbows and teeth and the sound of a city pretending not to look. Lucia scooped her phone, kept recording, kept talking, loud enough for the gods of algorithm to hear. "Officer Rafael Rivas, badge number." He head-butted me and dove for the gun. I hooked his ankle. He sprawled. The plainclothes made their choice and lifted their weapons. And then the night lit blue and red. Not for us. For them. Squad car at the alley mouth. Uniforms jumping out, weapons up, everyone shouting everyone else down. It was chaos with badges. Rivas looked at the new cops like they'd shown up to a birthday party sober. "Put your guns away. I have this. It's a confidential." The sergeant didn't lower his. "Funny. IA's been listening to your channel all week." He nodded to Lucia's live stream. And to hers. Internal affairs. The phrase felt like a joke with a budget. Rivas smiled anyway, feral and elastic. "You don't know who you're tangling with." The sergeant did not look impressed. "A man who's about to be in handcuffs." Everything slowed then, like the universe inhaled. From the street behind us, more engines. Black SUVs, windows dark. The convoy. Early. Or we were late. It didn't matter. Men spilled out, not cops, not subtle. Vinny's people. Faces I knew from nightmares, not dreams. The alley became a mouthful of broken glass. 2 sets of guns. 2 sets of uniforms. Too many loyalties. No rules. Rivas made his choice fast. He stood, palms up, soft voice. "Gentlemen, let's not embarrass the city. We all want the same thing." "No," I said and pitched my voice to Carrie. "We don't." Vinny himself didn't step into the light. He didn't have to. His shadow walked for him. A man with a leather coat and a neck that didn't believe in collars smiled like a cut and pointed at me. "Bring me the father," he said. "The ledger as a tip." I felt Danny press into my back. I felt Anton's blood on my hands. Mouse whispered a prayer in a language that wasn't words. Lucia put her car between Rivas and the ledger like a mother puts her body between fire and crib. IA shouted commands. Vinny's men ignored them. The uniforms didn't know which direction to aim without getting fired, by guns or supervisors. Someone sneezed and everyone flinched. I looked at my son. He was shaking but unbroken. He looked at me like people look at bridges, trusting and afraid. "When I move," I said, "you go with Mouse. You do not look back." "What about you?" he said. I smiled because that's what fathers do when their insides are knives. "I'm right behind you." He knew I was lying. He loved me anyway. I grabbed Anton under the arms. He bit on his belt, tried not to yell. We slid him into the back of Lucia's car. I leaned into the front, grabbed the bag, the ledger heavy as a verdict. Rivas saw the motion. Vinny's man saw my hand. The sergeant saw all of it and picked now to bark orders like orders still mattered. The first shot cracked the night open. Everyone chose a side. I chose my son. I threw the ledger as high as I could into the beam of the streetlight. Paper burst like birds. Pages flipped, catching air, catching eyes, catching cameras. Secrets fluttered like snow. Hands reached for them. Guns tried not to. The chaos I wanted arrived right on time. "Run!" I shouted. Mouse grabbed Danny's wrist and flew. Lucia yanked the wheel, slammed her car into reverse, tires screaming. Rivas pressed flat to the brick to avoid becoming an obituary. I stood in the middle of the alley as the world tore itself in half and bought my boy 5 seconds of sky with a cheap trick and a dumber heart. 5 seconds is all a man like me can give. Sometimes it's enough. Sometimes it isn't. A shape broke from the convoy's shadow, fast. He hit me low. We went down hard. The breath left me like a confession. He pressed a knee into my chest and a barrel to my throat. His breath smelled like mint and murder. "Vinny says hello," he whispered. I smiled up at him with blood on my teeth. "Tell him I'm breaking my promise." The barrel pressed harder. My vision tunneled. The paper snow kept falling, each page a little parachute for truth. Somewhere, Danny shouted my name. The world went very bright. Then very, very quiet. The world went quiet, but not the kind of quiet you pray for. It was the hush before thunder. A second stretched into a year. The barrel at my throat felt colder than the night. I thought, so this is it. This is where the promise ends. But then the shot came, from the side. Not the gun at my throat. Another. The man pinning me jerked, eyes wide, and collapsed heavy across my chest. His pistol clattered, still warm, inches from my hand. I shoved him off and sucked air like a drowning man. My ears rang. My eyes searched the chaos. Anton, bleeding but alive, had propped himself against Lucia's car door. Smoke curled from the revolver in his hand, his face twisted with pain and pride. "Still owe me coffee," he rasped. Then he slumped. The alley was hell. Bullets snapping, glass breaking, shouts in every direction. Pages from the ledger still fluttered, catching headlights, catching camera phones. Internal Affairs shouted over loudspeakers, trying to assert control. Vinny's men answered with muzzle flashes. And through it all, Danny. My boy. Mouse had him halfway down the block, dragging him into the shadows, but Danny twisted, fighting, his eyes locked on me. "Dad!" he screamed. "Dad!" He wasn't running. He was trying to come back. Back to me. Back into the fire. I roared louder than the guns. "Go!" My voice shredded my throat. "Don't you dare come back." He froze, torn in half. I saw the decision wrestling inside him, the same fire Anton had warned me about. Then Mouse yanked him hard around the corner, and he vanished into the city. My son was gone. Safe, for now. That was enough. I grabbed the fallen man's pistol. It felt wrong in my hand, like shaking hands with a devil you'd sworn off. But tonight wasn't about vows. Tonight was about survival. Vinny's convoy men advanced, using cars for cover. IA's uniforms were scattered, some firing, some cowering, some pretending they hadn't picked sides years ago. And at the center of it all, Rivas, calm as a surgeon, trying to scoop what papers he could into his jacket even as the world collapsed around him. I crawled to Anton. He was pale, bleeding too much. He pressed the revolver into my chest. "Finish it," he said. I shook my head. "You finish it. You're tougher than roaches." He tried to laugh, coughed instead. "I'll slow him. You end it." His eyes locked on mine. Old friend eyes. For the kid. I wanted to argue. But time was a blade. I squeezed his shoulder once, then stood. The pistol in my hand was steady. Too steady. The old me was awake again. I moved forward, through smoke and sirens, toward the convoy. Men shouted. Bullets sparked brick. I fired back, not to kill, just to clear a path. But one man dropped. Another cried out. My stomach twisted. Old sins taste the same no matter how long you starve. Then I saw him. Vinnie Caruso. Stepping from the back seat of the middle SUV, calm as church, coat swinging like a curtain. Thick hair slicked, eyes lazy but sharp. He didn't raise a weapon. He didn't need to. The street bent around him like gravity, just like I'd told Danny. Moreno, he called, voice smooth as oil. You've been making a lot of noise. Noise gets attention, I shouted back. He smirked. Attention gets graves. He started toward me, slow, deliberate, hands clasped behind his back like a teacher strolling a classroom. His men parted to let him through. Even bullets seemed to pause, unwilling to insult his entrance. You broke your word, didn't you? He said. Promised the kid you were done. But here you are. Gun in hand. Blood on you. Ledger in the wind. He'll never believe another word you say. He was right. Every syllable stabbed. Danny would never look at me the same. I'd saved him, but I'd damned myself in his eyes. Vinnie stopped 5 feet away, close enough to smell his cologne over the smoke. He leaned his head, studied me like a specimen. So, do we end this like men? Or like animals? I raised the pistol. My hand didn't shake. We end it like fathers. For the first time, his mask cracked. A flicker in his eyes. Surprise. Maybe pain. Because he had a son too once, rumor said the boy overdosed, left Vinnie carving holes in the world ever since. The moment cost him. Sirens wailed closer, dozens of them. Real uniforms this time. State police. The kind even Vinnie couldn't buy. His men panicked. Shouts. Engines revving. Shots wild. Vinnie straightened, mask back in place. This isn't over, Moreno, he said, voice flat. Then he melted back into the convoy as his men opened fire to cover retreat. I aimed. I had the shot. One squeeze, and the nightmare ended. But Danny's voice echoed in my skull. Are you done again? I lowered the pistol. Vinnie's SUV screeched away into the night, taillights like devil's eyes. The alley drowned in blue and red. Cops shouting, hands on me, ripping the pistol away. I didn't fight. My arms went slack. My body was lead. Lucia's phone was still live. Her voice trembled but strong. It's all here. The ledger, the corruption, the threats. We've got him. We've got all of them. Maybe she was right. Maybe the papers fluttering like birds would be enough to clip wings higher than mine. They dragged me to the curb. Anton was gone. Mouse and Danny, gone too, thank God. I tilted my head back and let the sirens wash over me. For the first time in years, I wasn't running. 3 days later, I sat in a holding cell. No charges yet, just protective custody. Papers were already making noise about crooked cops, mob ledgers, a live-streamed standoff. Vinnie's name was everywhere. Danny came to see me. He looked older in those 3 days. Harder. But when he sat across the glass, his eyes were still my boy's. You lied, he said. I nodded. I did. You said you were done. Then you weren't. You said you'd come home. You didn't. My chest felt hollow. I'm sorry. He studied me, jaw working. Then he pressed his palm to the glass. You broke your promise. But you kept me alive. I pressed mine to his. My hand was scarred, his was young. Between us, the glass hummed with everything we couldn't say. Don't follow me into this, I whispered. Whatever fire you've got in you, smother it. Don't let it burn you the way it burned me. He blinked hard, nodded once. Then promise me something else. What? Promise me this is the last time. I looked at him, at the boy who'd been used as bait, who'd stood in a garage full of money and fear, who'd seen me kill to save him. I thought about promises, about how weak they are, how easily broken. But maybe this one, Maybe this one could hold. I promise, I said. And this time, God help me, I meant it. Outside, the city buzzed with headlines. Rivas indicted. Vinny hunted. Ledger pages photocopied across every desk in town. The game had cracked open. But none of that mattered. What mattered was my son. Alive. Watching. Waiting. And me, a thief, a gangster, a father, finally ready to keep a promise. Even if it killed me.